Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. So, this is the part two of my conversation with Rafael. If you haven't checked the part one yet, do check it out. I'll put the link in the description. Hope you enjoy this one.
When I left Brazil to go to Malawi, if you want, someone said to me, "You end up telling this story in two TED Talks, end up married and living
Yeah.
in Canada." I said, this is not the outcome that I was predicting. I was just going there to live in
Yeah.
the poorest country in the world. For the last 2 years, I was telling you this idea. No, it's very safe. I never lived in Canada before, but I lived in the United States, and I think it's similar.
Mhm.
It's very safe. And she came back totally like scared. And she said, one guy tried to sexual harass me. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I had to do something, because like as a
And it was the
seller,
second day of you selling Canada.
exactly, as a seller, and I said, okay, let me fix this.
Before we get into the next segments, I wanted to briefly tell us that how this humanitarian work also led you to your love story as well. And then also tell us briefly about, decision to coming to Canada.
Yeah, so and funny is my life changed completely about after I took this decision to go to Malawi because
Mhm.
one girl saw my video on YouTube from Colombia. Said, "Oh, that's a very nice action. I will donate." And she
Mhm.
donates. And I remember when we finished the project. That's a funny story. When we go, because our ticket was to go back to United States for the
Mhm.
organization. And when we get back there, the organization said, okay, because you didn't do anything in Africa, we are kicking you out. And I said, what do you mean we're not doing anything? No. Have you put our logo? Did you give us credit? Did you work with us? No. So you don't did anything.
Yeah.
Like it's totally crazy. So we end up being kicked out of the organization. And my friend said, okay, let's go to Colombia. At least
Mm.
we can give one presentation in my university. And I said, but
Mhm.
I have no money and no place, nowhere to stay. You can stay at my home. Let's just go there.
Mhm.
And we went to Colombia, and I ended up meeting that girl who donated to the project. That is my wife today. This Laura.
Oh,
So he
wow.
said, I came here to meet you in the presentation because I donate for the project. And I said, I remember sending you the postcard and this and that. Okay, so we start to get to know each other and we end up in a relationship that later I moved to Colombia and I lived there for 5 years. And
Mm.
now we are here together in Canada. So this
Mhm.
project in Malawi was the completely shift in my
Yeah.
life that ended up being
Yeah.
here talking to you.
Yeah. No, it said that the love comes when you least expect it. It exactly came for you, exactly like that.
Exactly, exactly. I was when I left Brazil to go to Malawi. If you want, someone said to me, "You end up telling this story in two TED Talks, end up married and living
Yeah.
in Canada." I said, this is not the outcome that I was predicting. I was just going there to live in
Yeah.
the poorest country in the world. But life is
Hmm.
life is funny.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah,
So in 2023, you moved to Canada with your wife, right?
yeah.
Tell us about your first day. Like, what was your initial impressions or thoughts, And
Yeah,
also the story you were sharing, like the email scam and like the punch a guy story. Tell us
yeah.
briefly about that as well.
Yeah, the thing is, I always had, as we talked in the beginning, like the need to live in other country, and I kind of sell this idea to my wife when I moved to Colombia, and I said, "Okay, I'm here with you. It's nice, but it's not really the place that I want to live. It's
Hmm.
as dangerous as Brazil, so I'm done with that. So we should go to Canada." And she said, okay, let's see. So it was like a dream that I sell to her little by little. And we are like getting ready to move. And I try to apply first as a express entry. There's a way to get
Hmm.
in Canada, like you have points. So I said, okay, I have this profession. I studied French, I studied English, I got certifications, I got some points
Hmm.
and I applied, but was never enough for me to be called to have the PR. So I wait for
Okay.
a year and I said, okay, it's not working. So what should we try? And she said, I found an MBA. It's a very nice MBA, 3 years, and I will get the study permit, but you can go with me, and you have the open work permit. So it's a way for us to at least be there for 3 years, and we see what's going to happen. And I said, okay. Then we start the process of selling everything and checking the documents. And our first idea was, okay, let's stay in an Airbnb for at least 20 days. And after that, we can search for apartment, then we move. And that was the idea. But when our plane landed here in Canada, she was crying and I thought she was crying because of happiness. No, she was terrified because where is my family and this and that. Calm down. I said, and like I felt like a seller trying to sell a product. Like, no, for the last 2 years, I was selling you this idea. And we saw videos on YouTube, people, oh no, Montreal, very fancy, this and that. It's no, it's okay, no, it's very safe. I never lived in Canada before, but I lived in the United States. And I think it's similar. It's very safe. Nothing is going to happen with you. So when we arrived, I said, okay, please check the address of the Airbnb. And when she went to, I'm not finding. When we checked the spam mail, the host had canceled our stay like two months before, and we didn't check because it was so much documentation, this and that, and we had no place to go. So what I did, like, okay, let me book the first hotel that comes here in the list. And let's go there and see what happens. And there's another side story, because one friend picked us up in the airport, and when I went to pay the reservation, the hotel, the person, the staff asked for my card, the credit card, but it's a credit card from a bank in the United States that I had, and I don't have the physical card. And she said, no, I need the physical card in order to complete your booking. I said, I don't have, so you cannot pay. Yeah. And the guy who really had met me 10 minutes before, he said, no, I pay for you, and then later you can pay. So I said, oh, okay. So this is one of the person in our life that, okay, you completely saved me.
That's the result of the kindness you have shown to the world.
Exactly. Yeah, I really believe on that. Yeah. I really believe in that. And like, okay, he paid for our stay. And then we were able to sleep. And in the second day, I said to her, okay, I had to work, and I had a presentation for a client. And I said to her, okay, go to the reception to see if there's breakfast available. And I don't know, but like it's very, very cheap hotel. And she went there, and I was waiting for her to come back. And she came back totally like scared. And I said, what happened? And she said, one guy tried to sexual harass me. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I had to do something, because like as a seller.
And it was the second day of you selling Canada.
Exactly. As a seller, I said, no, it's a very safe place. So like is the customer saying, okay, I bought these products, but my first experience was that it's a bad review. And I said, okay, let me fix this. And I went there really like I was like very angry, and I was ready to punch the first guy that appears in front of me, even though I don't know how to fight. I said, no, like it's a matter of protection, because I need to show her that even though the country is not that safe, I can protect her. So I went there without thinking. And I saw 3 guys in the reception, and I didn't know which one was the responsible. One big guy, one medium, one small. Okay, it should be the small, because I want to pick the fight with the bigger one. So like I came down, say, okay, first talk to the receptionist, because if you start a fight here, they will call the police, and in your second day in Canada, you have like a police problem.
You don't want to face
so I talked to her, like my wife was here, and one guy tried to sexual harass her, and she said, okay, I'm sorry. There's an old guy here. He has Alzheimer, and sometimes he came here lost, and I'm so sorry. Sometimes that happened. And I said, okay, but please do something about it, with this and that. And I came back to the room and said,
Mhm.
nothing personal from you. It's a guy who has Alzheimer's. And because she started saying, because I'm Latina, he saw in my face that I'm Latina, then I assumed that I was a prostitute, and now everyone's here will see me as a prostitute. Like the whole shit. And I said, no.
By the time you came back to the room, were the bags packed to go back?
Yeah, like booking another flight, you know. But we like, okay, calm down. And for the next 2 weeks, we like just ate like a mac and cheese from Walmart. It was terrible until we find. And also, there's one cultural change
Of course.
in South America. If you need to rent a place, the owner treats you like a king because he needs you. So the moment you
Yeah.
call, no, come here right now. I will visit with you and this and that is up. So they treat you very well because they need. Here, they're more offer than demand. So they like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see next week. And if you don't want, there's 10 more in the waiting list. So we are in a hurry. Like, okay, we need to rent a place. And they are very slow. And I remember like end up the 2 weeks, the period, and we still haven't find the apartment. And I went to the reception and said, okay, I would like to renew for more 2 weeks. And the girl said, no, there's no room available.
Oh.
I said, no, we are fully booked. You need to leave.
Oh.
I went back to the room and I said, we need to move. And she said, why? I said, we cannot stay here. And I checked the other hotel prices. It was like I was spending like my budget for 3 months in just 2 weeks. And my God, what am I going to do? And I said to her, okay, let me first check online if I find another hotel. And for some reason, when I tried to find the booking, there's one room available in that same hotel.
Okay.
So I went to the reception and said, here is saying that you still have one room left. And she said, okay, maybe someone canceled, but you need to change your room. You need to go upstairs. And no problem, I can go there. So I booked and we collect our luggage, our cat, and went there. And we lived there for more, I think, 15 days. And then we find this place. And we finally could move here. It was a very hard first impression, and took me some weeks for me to like clean her mind that no, it's safe.
Of course,
it was just a minor incident.
Wow, a lot went down in the very first month.
Yeah.
When did you actually find your ground? Then you found it like a nice house, and you were like finally getting into the Canadian life. When did that happen?
I would say, there's something very nice that happened with my wife, that the 2 years before we came, the moment I like sell the product to her, like, okay, are you going to buy the Canadian life? She said, yeah, very excited. She said, I will start to apply for jobs there because she has a background in working in banks. Okay. And said, I will start to apply for banks in Montreal. Imagine that I'm already there because you don't know. And she started to apply and she got denied like the very second because in Colombia, applying to a place in Canada, it would not work. And she kept applying. And the result was 10 months later that we were here. She was only studying, not only because studying here is very hard. She got a call from that bank. And he said, okay, we saw that you applied much times here, very much times, multiple times. And now we have a position here. I said, okay, great. But I don't have a work permit. It's just a study permit. So I'm afraid that I cannot take the position. And the guy said, okay, let's keep the doors open and we see next time. And like 10 minutes later, he called us back and said, no, the bank really wants you. Your profile is the perfect match and they are able to sponsor your visa. So they will change your status to open work permit. I said, perfect.
Awesome.
So we have to do a flagpole in the United States, just get out and come back. And like for me, it ended up being much better than I expected. Because in my life, in my plans, in my budget, I said, okay, I will have to work alone for 3 years because she will not be able to work, just study. And I have to put my savings on this and keep her up because it was hard time for her to not work. And like, I'm only studying. I came from a country that I was working. I was independent, and I was waiting for this to happen after 3 years, but happened 10 months later. And now we both have open work permit, and later, and like I think in 2 years, we can try to apply to PR, permanent residency. So I would say 10 months later, when she finally got a job, said, okay, now we are feeling more at home. It's not that hurry to find something, not having a job. But I'm totally aware that this is something exceptional. It's not happened to anyone. It's not the rule.
Yeah.
Some people say come from like a lot of engineers who have to come to work first as a waiter, and then really climbed back again. His professional with us was totally different. So we are very lucky.
You know, Rafael, when you were sharing about this story during the presentation also, you know, in that moment, I did think about it. Oh, the guys got lucky. I thought about it for a moment, to be honest with you. But then again, after learning about your journey and now today listening to you, it reminds me of this quote which people say that to me all the time, that whatever the good you put in the world, it comes back to you. Maybe not directly to the same source, but somehow universe has its way of gifting it to you, you know, or giving you the fruits of your labor.
Exactly.
And I feel like, Rafael, however your journey has turned out along with your wife, you know, since she was a part of you now, your whole family, you guys was together. I think that's how universe has gifted you this fruits of your labor. So hats off. You know, I absolutely love the work you've been doing and how things have turned out for you. And I have no doubts you're going to get your permanent residency or not. You are going to get it.
Yeah, no, I have no turning back. And also because yesterday I started the process to register my company here.
Awesome.
And we got our first contract with a client here. So it's always a leap of faith. Like you first you do, then you see what's going to happen. For now, I just finished off hire 2 people in Brazil, 2 new employers in Brazil, and let's see what's going to happen. So I also think like you, like the universe is giving me something back, and that makes me feel very easy and comfortable with my life, because not that I'm expecting something back, but because I'm like really, I have a personal mantra, like my personal mantra that says, I will change a life of everyone who crosses my path. In any way, I would change. I would try to help to give something better or to give some direct. I don't know, and I think that ends up helping me as well in my projects. There's a little bit of lucky that I cannot like. There's lucky. There's timing.
I think you have to give chances to the universe to get lucky also. You have to do a certain thing multiple times for the luck to actually strike at one of those efforts that you are putting. You know, that's how I see it.
Yes. For example, the periods that I start to have more money, more clients that I told you, was because I met one guy in the project, the social project in Africa. That years later, he ended up recommending me to have some customers in banks, and this ended up me having very good clients. So the thing is a little bit of lucky that I cross my path with this guy, but at the same time, I had to get out of my country to be there, to live there, to be open to cross with the guy. So it's a mix. You need to be out of your comfort zone, out of your environment to get lucky. So like it's a combination.
Yeah. And just for the listeners, I want to mention that Rafael also has a creative agency. I'll put the links to that also, just for people to see your any work they might have, to reach out to him.
Okay.
And I think you're also telling that you do provide some coaching as well, to current immigrants, aspiring immigrants, anybody kind of excelling in their fields as well. I'll once again put your LinkedIn as well for people to reach out to you in case they want to chat.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm my wife once said to me, you I think your dream or your like the profession you didn't take would be coach. And I said, why? He said, you have on a podcast that a podcast that only giving advice to people didn't ask for your opinion, and you have the perfect match, the roles. No, you should do this and this and that. Set your goals this way and that way. And I said, yes. And this is like I should correct this because sometimes I'm giving advices or opinion for people that didn't ask for my opinion, but it reflects that I always picture myself on that position in Brazil when I was a kid, desperately try to figure out in life what I should do, and you just need someone to take me and said, okay, do this, and that, and you will end up in a good position. So like today, I try to be that mentor that I didn't have on the past. But the thing is, mentors you need to seek and to ask, and not just giving free information. Because I had some discussions with some friends that I'm really passionate about changing your life. Go for it, run marathons, and do this and that and that. Yeah. Then I end up being annoying. Some of my friends said, stop to be like annoying. I'm not asking you for this and that. Let me be free. And I said, okay, it's totally my fault.
Okay, so Rafael, before we get into the final segment, I've added this new segment in this season. I call it Know Your Host, where I give my guests an opportunity to ask me any question you might have. So go ahead.
So it should be quick questions or can be more philosophical questions?
Whatever you feel like,
Okay, and how many? One or two or?
Well, okay, I'll let you choose. Let's just say two.
Okay, two. Yeah. Okay. I would be one very easy, another more deep. Okay. When was the last time you cried?
Oh, wow. It is a deep question. So I'll tell you honestly, my last year, 2024, was such a roller coaster of emotions. I think the first quarter, the first 4 months of 2024 were like, it was testing everything I have learned in the previous years of my life, my patience, my skills or my abilities, everything I have questioned. And I think that have led to a lot of self-doubt and crying. And then I think in the middle of the year 2024, I got a little better, but my year ended on a very weird and sad note as well, because I was sick. I was not able to excel in my job. I lost my job as well. So it really made me question a lot of things, and I was getting sick also back to back. So that was my last year, a full roller coaster of emotions, and I have cried multiple times throughout that year. But this year, I actually made a promise to myself, or more of like a reminder to myself that things gonna be fine. And I have avoided, or sort of like tried to somehow not cry at each and every moment. So that's what I have done that this year. But I think I did have this moment where it was the saturation. There was like a back-to-back, multiple things were happening, and I reached a saturation point, and I didn't cry, but I did sit and I took a deep breath, and I just like felt that I'm on the verge of it. And I believe it was a week and a half ago. That's where it happened. But it wasn't to the extent how it was last year. I'm so glad it's not to that extent, but it was just like a pent up emotions of multiple things back to back. And that's where it happened. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and the second one, it will be very easy, but it's very curious.
Okay.
If you could go back on time to watch any event of the world, of the history of the universe, and you could choose 3, I'll give you 3. So you can go be there just to watch and see and you cannot interfere in the timeline. Just go, see, and come back. Which will be the three happenings or three situations that you could go back and see that you would like to witness?
That's a very thought-provoking question. It's I don't know about historical moment, but I think I would love to go back and see my parents when they were younger. It's
Okay.
because I feel like my father has a certain stance which is very like affirmative and keeping his emotions to himself and not expressing. I just want to see my father. How was he when he was younger?
Okay.
And it might not be the historic event, but that's something I've always thought about. Like I think I have come to that sort of like a rapport with my father where I question him about everything. Maybe I've come at a certain age, but and he tells me about the stories and the times of his upbringing and his formative years and everything, and I feel very fascinated by it. So I would love to see that how he was able to handle all that and how he was able to do that.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah, that's the one I'm able to think.
You have two more.
Give me a moment. I'll think about it. Okay, this is actually a religious one.
Okay.
So many of the first gurus, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he was basically who established and formed this religion of mine, which is Sikhi. And I have heard a lot of stories of his time where he has gotten against the system. He has questioned a lot of things, and he was born in a certain family, and his parents weren't approving of his ideologies and what he was trying to achieve. So I'd love to see that. Like, how did that actually was shaped and it turned into this today where all of us Sikhs follow, which is the Sikhi. So I would love to see that, how that was sort of transitioned and became into this religion sort of, or the way of life we follow.
Okay.
So I'd love to see that. Yeah, that would be a very fascinating time. I never thought about it, but thanks for that.
Yeah, and the last one?
And the third one, let me think about it again. I think this one time I remember my my cousins and my sisters and everybody tells me that the time when this 21st century started, the transition that happened from that when 2000 came,
2000.
that was like a big event and a lot happened at that time. It was like a certain excitement to it. I would love to witness that.
Okay.
Maybe if I can, when that transition happened towards when it was 12, when the new year started, the new century started, there was certain sort of excitement and the hope that was there in people. That's what I have heard. I would love to witness that how did that pan out,
like they are
or maybe they live that moment,
getting into the future, like that hopeness. Yeah.
Exactly, like so I'd love to experience that if I can. Yeah.
Okay, that's very nice. Very nice. That's my question. Was my questions to you.
Oh my god, I love that. No, I would have never thought about this, and I love how these questions provoke me and encourage me to kind of like reflect and see, what I can say. So I love that. Very, very unique questions. Absolutely love that.
Yeah,
Thank
I love
you,
your
Rafael.
answers also. No, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so it's my time now. We are in the final segment of the podcast. I call it Beneath the Accent. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. You can answer them in one word or a sentence or however you feel like.
Okay.
The idea is just to know more about you. Just a quick rapid fire sort of thing. The classic question, what advice would you give to your younger self and at what age?
By the age 16, I would say get out of your country as soon as possible.
Okay. Describe a moment when you experienced a significant cultural difference that surprised you.
There's a lot, but what comes to my mind is the first time I was in Malawi and I had to eat without fork and knife. I eat with my hands. And we see like there is a process of people washing their hands and this and that, and how good they are eating with hand. They don't mess like a baby. So when they saw me eating, they said, "You eat like a baby." Yeah, it was very hard. I never in my life experienced, I had to eat with my hands. So yeah, that's a cultural shock.
Okay, I love that. What's this one dish from your home country that always brings you comfort and nostalgia?
It's very cliche, but I would say feijoada. That's the main dish in Brazil. That's beans with pork and
Okay.
cooking the specific way. And this dish is served every Wednesday and Saturday. There's
Hmm.
days for it, and it's very heavy, but brings me like the flavor or the memories that I then when I eat this with my friends. So I would say feijoada.
Okay.
And by the way, this is like 90% of the answers of all Brazilians. So there's nothing new on that.
Okay. When you say it's served every Wednesday, Thursday, where it is served?
In restaurants, so it's the dish like
Okay.
it's like the main the main dish of the day. So you go there. There's some options, but the
Hmm.
main dish is feijoada, Wednesday and Saturday.
Okay. Is there any funny story that you remember regarding the misunderstanding around the accent or English?
Not due to my accent, but I remember when I was in Malawi, the kids there, they try to communicate with you in English any
Okay.
way possible, and they have some like follow like a script in how to get to talk to you, and like, how are you doing? I'm fine, and you? So, and I sometimes they forget the sequence, and I countless time one kid approached me and said, "I'm fine." Like they skip like, how are you doing? I'm good. How about you? I'm fine. So they skipped. So they start the conversation like, I'm fine. And I said, okay, that's good. I'm fine too. So it's not because of the accent, but
Okay.
was a good way, like how they structured the dialogue in their heads, and when they change the positions, it's end up in being a totally different conversation.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite cultural festival or celebration in Canada? And how do you usually celebrate it?
Not really, because this is
Mm.
actually one thing that I was thinking about today. That I came here, I live here 1 year and a half, but it's
Hmm.
all about working and try to solve life here. And I didn't have much time to really experience the life here, like to travel.
Okay.
I just went to Quebec one day, like some weekends, but I would say Halloween, because in Brazil the
Okay.
Halloween culture is not that much. It's
Hmm.
starting, but was the first time that I really see Halloween, like kids on the streets asking for candies, and people like, I went to the metro, that the supermarket here, and
Hmm.
I enter and I see, I saw Harry Potter. Like, oh my god! But it was like an employer the place, and then I realized, okay, the cashiers, everyone is disguised, and that for me was like, even though it's not very Canadian, I think it starts in the United States or England, I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
Halloween was for me was the first like cultural celebration that took me like, okay, that's very nice, and it was the
Mm.
first time that I disguised myself, first time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was very meaningful.
Okay. What's that one Brazilian habit that you refuse to let go of, no matter where you live?
Shower 2 times a day.
Really?
Yeah. Shower in the morning, shower at night, and I try to sleep without showering. It's not possible. I have to take 2 showers every day.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sometimes you don't need it because you stay at home the whole day. You already showered, but there's something in my mind that before I go to sleep, go to bed, I need to shower again. So 2 showers,
Okay.
take 2 showers a day.
Interesting. If your life were a movie, what title would it be?
Wow.
How about Life Beyond Borders?
Life beyond borders, but I was about to think about one like, I would say the only chance,
Hmm.
because I see life as one chance. We have one chance
Absolutely.
to do things here. That was drive me, because like life can end any second, and as far as we know, it's just one chance. If we had more lives,
Hmm.
we'd be great, but
Hmm.
I live life as just one chance. So you get into the stage, you have one chance, it's just one opportunity. After that, it's over. So I will say one chance.
Hmm. Okay. It could also be the word that you taught us,
I would say in Portuguese, segue o jogo. It's literally
Okay.
keep playing.
It could
Keep
be
playing.
that.
Exactly. Like it's related with that because keep
Yeah.
playing. It's just your chances now. Life will end up.
Yeah.
And if you don't take advantage of this chance, it's the only one.
Tell us about the first friend that you made in Canada.
It's Roshan. It's Roshan. It's he's Canadian, but his parents are from India,
Yeah.
and it's a very nice guy. We end up like a route, like the organizer of that event introduced us in a cooking event, and
Okay.
he's a very nice guy. Like that I even told him. I think here he came to my home Saturday, and he left me one note
Oh, nice.
like thank you, and he wrote some words for me. Like
Oh.
it was the first time I said, okay, it was a long time ago before I made a new friend. So I would say Roshan, it's a good friend. It's a first
Oh,
friend here
wow.
in Canada. Yeah.
I love that. And what's the one thing Canada does better than Brazil, and one thing that Brazil will always do better?
Okay. I would say Canada in general, I will not say people, but the government, I don't say, they take good care of the public spaces. So
Okay.
when you go to parks, the grass is always clean. There's by the river, and so there's a lot of green spaces. So you don't feel. Of course, in downtown you can feel a little bit overwhelmed, but there's always a park nearby, some trees. So I think some way they organize the city that you can always have some nature around you. So for
Okay.
me, it's better. What Brazil do better, I would say, strangely enough, at least in São Paulo, where I was born, the metro and the train are much, much better than here.
Really?
Much
Okay.
better. This is something that even for us from Brazil, from São Paulo, we cannot understand how everything around is a mess, but the metro, it's very safe, it's
Okay.
very clean, and there's a lot of options for you to go anywhere on city. So totally a different experience. So Brazil I would say São Paulo do better than Canada on metro and public transportation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It's good. Interesting to know. Is this something you ate for the first time in Canada? And did you like it?
Yeah. What is the name of that dish, Indian dish with silver?
Oh, that one. That's the barfi.
Barfi. Okay, this was the first time. It was,
Oh,
even though
okay.
it's not from Canada, it was the first time here, and it's delicious. It's amazing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Travel back in time. Travel back
Okay.
in time for me.
You are really obsessed with traveling back in
Yeah,
time. And you
because
asked me also to go back.
Yeah, no, I'm obsessed with this because the possibility for you to witness what happened, what really happens, because there's some part of our history we will never know. Like it's totally mysterious. We guess with some samples or this and that, but the opportunity to go back and witness something like the moment, like I always imagine like that, and even going to the future. For example, this week, last week, I had two possibilities with my company to take this project or not take this project, and I think it would be very nice if I could travel in future and see what is going to happen if I take this place, or what's going to happen if I take this place. Like time travel would solve all the problems, but it's impossible. So I would say time travel.
Yeah. If you could describe yourself as any creature, what would it be?
I would say a wolf.
Okay.
A wolf that can work, that can live in small societies. At the same time, it's open to look around. There's a very nice image of a pack of wolves. How the leader walks here and the females walk here and that. So there's a structure in wolf, and also there's a very nice book called The Call of the Wild. They made a movie some years ago with Harrison Ford. There's one story about one dog. It's the point of view of a dog.
Okay.
And how he get in contact with his wild nature is a true wolf. So it's a very nice book. The Call of the Wild is Jack something. I don't remember the author. but there's a movie. So that image of the wolf and how they get connect for the instinct. So that's why I would choose wolf.
Lastly, how would you describe Canada in one word or a sentence?
I would say possibilities.
Hmm. Okay.
Possibilities. Because at least I came with this mind that I can reinvent myself. There's a lot of tools and possibilities to grow. Because it's multicultural, you see people from different backgrounds. It's relatively safe for me. It's safe.
Mhm.
There are people who disagree with me. No, it's not safe, but it's safe and gives you a lot of possibilities. So I would say possibilities.
And Rafael, if you could leave me with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my God, you are asking for the coach that one asks the opinion. Revise or revisit the stories that you have in your mind regularly. Like,
Hmm.
because at the end, we have a bunch of stories in our mind that drive us through life. And also, there's
Hmm.
this theory that's very interesting that stories are beings, they are alive. And the way they
Hmm.
multiply is by getting different heads, different brains,
Mhm.
and that brain, that person, pass the story over to others. So you can think of religion like this, social, politic position. It's a story that is multiplying itself by people. So the thing is, some of the stories we have in our mind, we didn't choose. It was planted by
Hmm.
the culture, by the country, by our parents. So there's these truths we have in our mind that no, this is truth, this is how life works, and this and that. Maybe it's just a story. So sometimes you have
Hmm.
to revisit your mind and check if these stories make sense. There's a very nice book called mental immunity. They call
Okay.
ideas
Hmm.
like
Interesting.
parasite ideas. So there's some ideas that is like parasites. They get into your brain, they block other ideas to come in, and they allow
Hmm.
some fear, like some similar ideas to get inside. So like you see people who have this religion, we have this social, this political view, and you accept this kind of people is because it's just one idea that is accepting this other and blocking others. So the
I
ideas
see.
are fighting one against other to see I will get this human being and I will get this brain. So
Mhm.
we are just tools. The stories are using us to multiply. So revisit the stories and check if they make sense or not. It's very longer answer, but
Wow.
revisit your stories.
Very, very fascinating. That does make
Yeah,
sense to me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And lastly, Rafael, how would you describe your experience being on the podcast today?
Very meaningful, very meaningful because you give some inputs that I only by speaking that we can have. For example, when you said,
Hmm.
okay, that maybe that's why you left your country because you see these dead bodies and this. I never thought about that. So I would
Hmm.
say it's very meaningful. Like by telling me my story and you giving some inputs can really that thing that I said that sometimes someone can drop you one phrase on word that it completely
Yeah.
change the course of your life. So I would say very meaningful. Thank you for your input in to give me this opportunity to be here.
No, thank you for being so open and sharing everything that you can with
Yeah.
me and the audience. So thank you for being on the podcast and adding value to me and to my listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.